My name is Akiko Iwasaki. I'm a professor of immunobiology at the Yale University School of Medicine.
Hi, Dr. Iwasaki.
Hi, Helen.
Thank you so much for being our first senior scientist guest for I Am a Scientist. It's a great honor to have you here today.
Thank you.
So I guess to start off, I noticed that you mentioned you're a professor and an immunologist. So could you please explain to our audience what exactly is immunology?
Sure. Immunology is a study of the immune system. The immune system is our body's defense system against invading viruses, bacteria, fungi, and parasites. Immune system uses so many different cell types as tools to fight back these microbes.
That's very interesting. And immunology seems super important. So could you give some real life example of how immunology has impacted our everyday life?
Yeah, immunology has transformed our everyday life. Immunology's biggest achievement so far is the development of vaccines. So vaccines protect children and adults from many different deadly diseases like diphtheria, measles, tetanus, hepatitis, tuberculosis, and influenza viruses. So millions of lives have been saved due to vaccines worldwide.
Cool. It seems like immunology is very relevant to our health. On that note, a topic that's on everyone's mind right now is, of course, COVID-19. Can you mention how immunology has helped in the fight against COVID-19?
Yeah, immunology, being the study of our defense system, is so important in the fight against COVID-19. So immunologists have already made great strides in understanding how the COVID-19 viruses invade us and cause diseases, and how we might prevent such diseases from happening by manipulating the immune response. We also figured out how to make safe and effective vaccines against COVID-19. And now over 100 million people have been vaccinated, and this is really the safest way to control the pandemic.
Wow, that's truly amazing. And thank you so much for giving a very interesting background about how immunology impacted COVID-19 and our everyday lives. So you and your group are doing so many amazing things right now to help us fight through the pandemic. And I guess that brings up a question I always have for you is, how did you first become interested in science?
Yeah, so I was interested more in the literature when I was in high school, but I became hooked on math because a great high school teacher really believed in me and was able to challenge me in math. And that's when I became really interested in math. And from there on, I became interested in other scientific studies such as biology and physics and chemistry and many other things. So that's how it all started.
Thank you so much. It's very cool to see that you gain your passion in science through your education and your interest in math. And of course, math is the foundation of all science. Can you just help us to fill in the gap between when you first started in science and where you are now? And can you talk a little bit about your path and perhaps any hardship you have to overcome along the way?
Right. So once I realized I really like math and science, I really wanted to become a scientist. I was growing up in Japan. I grew up in Japan. And when I realized this passion, I felt I wasn't really encouraged by the society to do such a thing, because in Japan, at least back then, girls weren't encouraged to pursue science. And, our path was sort of, the ideal path would be to become a housewife and raise children and so on. And at that time, that's not what I wanted. So that was a bit of a difficulty for me and a barrier that I had to overcome. And I actually left Japan at the age of 16 and moved to Canada. And that's how I was able to pursue my dream of becoming a scientist.
Wow, that's a very fantastic story that you have in your life. And I'm sure a lot of other children and women around the world have the same feeling that maybe pursuing career is very difficult, but you have to be courage and then have found your passion for science. So on that note, you've written before that diversity among scientists really contribute to scientific success. Could you expand on how?
Right. So when I think about building a successful scientific team in my laboratory, I of course resort to science to figure out how to do it. And so studies by many groups has demonstrated that teams consisting of people of diverse background tend to produce more creative and more successful output. And this isn't just restricted to science, also computer, engineering, sales department of a company, whatever it is, diverse teams always make creative and successful products. So, and another study done by Google called Project Aristotle found that by surveying all these different teams among the Google company, the number one factor that makes a team effective is the psychological safety. So I try to build a creative team by collecting successful scientific team members by ensuring safe environment while making sure that the people of diverse backgrounds are included in my team.
Thank you so much. And I think diversity is really something all our science community try to push. And it's really great to see you as an immunologist to represent us and really pushing the field forward to increase our diversity in our field. So thank you so much again for being our guest. This will be the end of our interview. But before we end, do you have any advice for kids who may be interested in STEM?
Yeah, so kids, those of you who are interested in STEM, now is a great time to get into this field. The pandemic has really highlighted the need for all kinds of science to advance human health and safety. So this involves everything from surveillance, data collection, analysis, data dissemination, math modeling to predict spread of the virus, and of course, immunology to understand how better to create better vaccines and therapeutics. So I think this is a really great time to get into this field.
Awesome. Thank you so much.